His leg was so badly damaged that it was completely severed, and only a few veins kept it loosely attached to his body. In Victor's state, William becomes distraught and carries him and Elizabeth to the town. Get ready to relive the adventure as we recap the story of horror and fantasy film today. Frankenstein, production year 2025. The movie begins in the frozen depths of the Antarctic Ocean in winter. A huge vessel is stuck in the ice-covered water. The captain attempts every possible measure to evacuate the vessel and its occupants safely. Yet the temperature keeps dropping, making survival nearly unattainable. During a snow-laden, tempestuous night, they hear a man's desperate cries for rescue. The captain and several crew members sprint to aid him, and the man begs, "Please, either take me away or kill me. Don't abandon me to this agony." Touched by his situation, the captain invites him aboard. Yet as this happens, a creature draws near the vessel, having been after the man, and he is pleading for aid. At that instant, only the creature's horrifying arms and elongated tentacles are visible, and once it arrives, it starts assaulting the crew. All try to combat it, yet none can overcome it. Projectiles prove useless. Observing this, a soldier fires a potent mini-rocket-type weapon at it, but the beast remains alive. It only slips off the vessel. Enraged, the monster then violently rocks their ship, inflicting great interior damage and jeopardizing everyone aboard. Witnessing this, the captain, positioned overhead, smashes the ice adjacent to the beast with great force, cracking the nearby frozen surface, submerging it in frigid water. They assume the creature has perished, but it is not so. At dawn, the captain returns to the same man they rescued the previous night and asks, "How did this creature pursue you?" The man then starts recounting his tale, and the narrative shifts to a flashback showing Victor at age 12. Victor, the offspring of a famous scientist, was expected to follow in scientific footsteps, becoming an excellent doctor. Through intense effort from both Victor and his father, Victor achieved the status of scientist at a young age, yet his knowledge proved futile. When Victor discovered he could not rescue his mother, he grew resentful toward his father, demanding, "What purpose does this science serve if it couldn't save our mother?" His father replies that reviving the dead exceeds human capability, sparking a new quest in Victor's life. He resolved to discover a method to resurrect the deceased. He intended to uncover a formula or technique unknown to his father. The scene shifts to the present, where the creature, previously submerged, rises from the sea once more. Remarkably, despite the frigid water, it shows no sign of distress. After this display, the narrative returns to the past as Victor continues his account. Victor persisted in pursuing his concept, seeking means to revive humans. Years passed. At age 30, he finally devised a technique to reanimate humans by applying electricity to human organs. He attended a gathering of influential businessmen to present his experiment. There, he demonstrated that he had revived half a human body with a device. The observers were appalled, thinking that Victor was attempting to defy God by resurrecting a person in such a manner and was positioning himself as a deity. They berated Victor and demanded that he halt his research, but Victor persisted, tossing a ball at the humanoid he fashioned. The humanoid catches the ball and even vocalizes. This horrifies the crowd, who promptly order Victor to depart. No one agrees to fund his work. Victor departs, abandoning the agonizing creature. Some turned away from his research, fearing that if knowledge of Victor's work spread, mortality would cease and humanity would overpopulate. A despondent Victor departs, then a wealthy businessman contacts him. The issue was that the businessman possessed great wealth and a vast enterprise, yet his own lifespan was brief. He had long searched for a cure to his disease. He desired longevity. Observing Victor and learning of his experiments, he felt hopeful that he could survive. The businessman says to Victor, "I will provide all the funds and resources you require wherever you are. Build your own laboratory and finish your work so you can later cure me." Victor rejoices. He visits his brother William's home to tell him that he is constructing his own lab. William shares his excitement. Victor meets Elizabeth, William's wife, who tells him that a thin boundary separates science from divinity. Use science for your work, but never view yourself as a god. Victor then travels to a remote location where his experiments remain hidden. He gradually converts the mansion into his own fortress and installs 2 massive silver antennas. He understood that reviving a complete human would need enormous electricity, and such power was unattainable at that era. To achieve full resurrection, he intended to harness lightning. The silver antennas were meant to capture lightning and fulfill his experiment, animating the human he constructed. William and his wife Elizabeth, niece of a notable businessman, also aided Victor. They assisted in finishing the laboratory. Once the lab was ready, Victor performed many trials to resurrect a full human but failed. Elizabeth then advised, "Not like that. Begin anew. Shape it as you are." Victor grasped her meaning and restarted his work. He concentrated on his own motions, and to enable the humanoid to move, he linked its skeleton and muscles with wires, granting it arm and leg motion and walking ability. He ran wires through the creature's body. After finalizing the framework, Victor needed to install all organs. He wondered where to obtain them. A war was raging then. He gathered many corpses from the battlefield and extracted their organs and implanted them into his humanoid precisely as a natural human would. The process was gruesome. Victor dissected each corpse to locate suitable organs. He placed one person's eyes and another's nose into the humanoid. Finally, upon completing the body, he named it Frankenstein. He linked its heart to a power device that would animate it with electricity. After constructing the body, he can only await a thunderstorm when lightning hits its silver antennas, reviving the humanoid. He called it Frankenstein. One day, a storm arrives. Victor believes his experiment will finish today, and that very day, the businessman who funded the experiment appears. Victor asks, "Look, today the experiment is finished. What do you want from me?" The man answers, "What more can I want? I just want you to bring me back to life, just like this body when I die, and if you can't bring me back to life, then put my heart and mind back into this body." Victor says, "No, I won't tamper with my body any further." Businessman becomes enraged. He arrives and a fight ensues between them. In the ensuing scuffle, the businessman falls down and is killed. Lightning also strikes the towers Victor had built, but even then Victor realizes his experiment was a failure. The humanoid Frankenstein hadn't come to life. Victor was now completely devastated. His years of hard work had been wasted. Exhausted, he fell asleep. When he woke up in the morning, he couldn't believe his eyes. Frankenstein could stroll. He stood before his eyes. The view of his creation, wrapped in bandages, scared him. Its motions were extremely odd. It was clear it was not an ordinary human. That is how a being linked to wires behaves. Each segment of its form belonged to a different person. This being, sliced into minute fragments, appeared frightening. Victor himself feared Frankenstein. Therefore, he sealed him away in a hidden chamber. Victor discovered that the huge creature's mind resembled that of an infant. Victor now instructs him to talk, first calling him by his own name and then saying, "I am Victor." Frankenstein likewise utters in his chilling tone, "I am Victor." Each day passes. Victor keeps teaching him how to exist as a normal human, but Victor overlooks one fact. Frankenstein is mentally a child and should be treated as such. A few days later, William arrives to see Victor with his spouse, Elizabeth. Victor feels uneasy about their appearance since he had slain Elizabeth's uncle. Victor has not yet met Elizabeth when she hears sounds from the cellar. She goes down and meets Frankenstein. She is both amazed by his appearance and pleased with Victor's achievement. Looking at Frankenstein, she says, "You're so huge." Frankenstein asks her name and Elizabeth replies with hers. Elizabeth also attempts to instruct Frankenstein. She gives him 3 words: water, air, fire. When Victor sees that Frankenstein does not grasp what he is teaching, but rather Elizabeth's, because she is explaining things at a child's level, Victor becomes slightly envious. Irritated, he turns to his brother William and orders him to remove Elizabeth at once. "The creature I fashioned is extremely perilous. It is the one that killed Elizabeth's uncle." He displays Elizabeth's uncle's corpse to William and says, "If you cherish your life and your wife's, then depart today, and I will destroy this monster of mine as well." William, heeding Victor's counsel, escorts Elizabeth off the vessel. As they exit, Victor douses the palace with gasoline and ignites it, causing the whole palace to blow up, propelling Victor outward. His leg was so badly damaged that it was completely severed, and only a few veins kept it loosely attached to his body. In Victor's state, William becomes distraught and carries him and Elizabeth to the town. The scene then returns to the present. In the present, we see Frankenstein rising from the water unharmed, and seeking vengeance, he boards the ship and starts setting parts of it ablaze. The captain confronts Frankenstein and asks, "Is the tale Victor, your father, told you true? Are you truly so hazardous that you kill people?" Frankenstein answers, "No, that is only half the story. I have never killed a person. Yes, I admit I am angry with Victor. I desire revenge for what he did to me. He abandoned me in the burning palace. I barely escaped through the cellar. That route led into the forest. I roamed the woods for years. He says Victor never even considered that I was a child. How did I survive mentally in that world? Even animals fled in terror at my sight. I was utterly alone. In the forest, hunters would spot me and instantly attack, thinking I was evil. Likewise, another time, hunters saw him, he could not flee, and they shot him. To preserve his life, he ran to a house and hid inside. When he regained consciousness, he noticed all his injuries had healed. Frankenstein recounted all this with amazement. He said, "I looked inside that house again. Many people lived there, full of love and care. I realized I too should have a family like that. I should have people with whom I could converse." Frankenstein observed an elderly man teaching his granddaughter. He secretly understood everything. He listened to their speech, learned, and noted their habits. Frankenstein felt a wish to become part of this family. He saw how the members performed their duties and cared for the household. He also left the house to aid them. He decided to supply their needs. Sometimes he would split bundles of wood from the forest and leave them for them. Sometimes he would hunt a deer for them. The family wondered who might be assisting them. Grandpa then shrugged, saying, "Maybe God is helping them." Some time passes, and the family decides to leave their home and move to the city, but Grandpa remains there. It turns out Grandpa is blind, but he can hear everything, and he always knew Frankenstein lived in their house. He regarded Frankenstein as a human, and also knew Frankenstein had always been there to help him. After his family departs, Frankenstein appears before him, and the old man accepts him as a member of his family. During the time he stays with Frankenstein, he teaches him to live like a human, instructing him to read and do all things possible for a person. One day, Frankenstein learns everything and Grandpa speaks to him. He asks, "Where did you come from?" Frankenstein is startled by this question as he has no answer. Grandpa explains, "You must recall where you were last." Frankenstein replies, "Yes, I remember the place I came from. I can go there." Grandpa urges him, "Go there. You'll learn about your life." Following his advice, Frankenstein returns to the same lab where Victor created him. There he discovers Victor's experiments and is shocked to learn he was not born, but manufactured. He also obtains Victor's address. He decides to go to Victor and ask him to create another being like himself, with whom he can live and survive in this world. After learning about himself, he immediately runs to Grandpa to share the good news, but he finds Grandpa attacked by wolves and on the brink of death. He is devastated. He tells Grandpa, "You can't die. You're my only companion in this world." While they talk, Grandpa's sons arrive, mistake Frankenstein for a monster, and shoot him from behind. Frankenstein flees, and the men fire so many bullets at him that he finally collapses. They believe he is dead, but he is only unconscious. The next day he regains consciousness, but Grandpa is gone. His children have taken him away. Frankenstein now knows what to do. He must go to Victor, whose address he already has. While traveling, he encounters Victor and his brother William celebrating. Enraged by the thought that he endures suffering while Victor lives in excess, in fury he attacks Victor and declares, "I will kill you." Victor replies, "I want you to kill me. I regret creating such a hideous creature as you. I have regretted it ever since I brought a monster like you into being." Frankenstein tells him, "I am not a monster." But Victor ignores him and is about to fire. Elizabeth appears before Frankenstein and takes the bullet aimed at him. Frankenstein is once again shattered because Grandpa and Elizabeth were the only ones who saw him as human. In sorrow, he lifts Elizabeth from his arms and leaves the gathering. William, also traumatized by his wife's death at home, tells Victor, "You have ruined everything." Although Victor continues to apologize, William drives him out of his home. Victor now feels deeply angry at Frankenstein for destroying his brother's life. Seeking vengeance, he tracks Frankenstein again and in a fit of rage slices off his nose. Victor proclaimed, "I will take my revenge on you." Frankenstein responded, "If you seek revenge against me, then track me down." With that, he departed and time went by. For years afterward, Victor persisted in pursuing Frankenstein, bearing numerous hardships that might have cost him his life. One day, Frankenstein himself showed up before him and asked, "What do you possess to kill me? Hand it over. I'll end my life, but if I survive, I'll end yours." Victor gave Frankenstein a stick of dynamite, a bomb which made Frankenstein explode, yet, as usual, he survived. He recovered after a while. From that moment, he pursued Victor since he had vowed to kill him. During his torment and attempts to kill Victor, Victor summoned the captain and his crew for assistance. It mirrored the opening scene of the film. In the present, Frankenstein recounted the whole tale to the captain and Victor. He said to Victor, "I never sought anything else from you. I didn't even intend to kill you. At first, all I desired was to locate you and request that you create another being like myself, with whom I could share my life." Upon hearing this, Victor's eyes welled with tears and he apologized to Frankenstein, saying, I never trusted you, the one I made." Victor was in a critical state. He was on the brink of death, but before passing, he told Frankenstein, "You must live in my stead and you must forgive me." Frankenstein pardons Victor, and the whole crew begins to weep at the conclusion. At last, Frankenstein steps ashore and releases their vessel from the iceberg, setting it afloat. Thus everyone is liberated, all thanks to Frankenstein. All wave goodbye to Frankenstein as they depart. Frankenstein felt profound sorrow watching humanity pull away from him again, yet now he resolved to live alone. The film concludes by presenting this as his final destiny, and showing this story ends here. Appreciate a subscribe and please remember to like. Thanks for watching.